Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and my cat is here next to me today for some reason. And very talkative because she thinks that I'm talking to her, which I'm not. I'm talking to you, but that's okay. I am here to do my bi-weekly wrap-up as per usual, though of course last week was not a usual thing at all. If you missed my post last weekend with the photo, yeah, we had a big storm roll through last Saturday morning, so a week ago. Today is Saturday, so a week ago Saturday, yeah, big windstorm rolled through about 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and a lot of damage got done around town. Some entire trees got uprooted. We actually kind of got off lightly. Our cars were okay, the house is pretty much okay, but a big branch did come down at the back of our house and it snapped the power line to our house, and so we did not have power. We did not have power from Saturday morning until Monday afternoon is when they finally came in and like reattached the line and got the power going again. So I didn't get a video up last week. That's okay, we survived, everybody's okay. We lost our fridge and our freezer full of food, though it wasn't as full as it could have been because I hadn't done my grocery run yet, so that was lucky. But yeah, so we've been working on restocking the fridge and freezer and making sure everything's okay and keeping the house cool and catching up on the laundry and stuff, so yeah. And I'm still sort of playing catch up. I know I've been tagged in a couple of tags lately. I'll be definitely getting to those in the near future. I'm still just kind of playing catch up after basically 3 days without power in my house. No power, no AC, so it was dark and it was warm and stuffy for a few days. Again, it could have been worse because it could have been a lot hotter than it ended up being those few days, but yeah. Always an adventure living in the plains where the wind sometimes just blows at 90 miles an hour and then trees fall over. So anyway, today we're doing my bi-weekly wrap-up. You know, not a lot has changed in the past 2 weeks, except that I have finished the book that I was reading last time, and I've started the books that I told you I was going to start last time. So we're just trucking along. So I want to talk a little bit about that. First off, so yes, I did finish The Other Bennett Sister by Janice Hadlow. I enjoyed this book. I would say that I liked this book the most when it was the least concerned with being a straight Jane Austen pastiche, right? I enjoyed this book the most when I was able to just sort of sink into it as an historical fiction novel, instead of constantly being reminded that it is like an unofficial published Jane Austen sequel. Every time it called back too directly to Pride and Prejudice, I just kind of wanted to, unfortunately, I just kind of wanted to roll my eyes at it. I think I would have preferred it if it had just been an historical fiction novel rather than a Jane Austen pastiche, even though I completely understand why it was published as a Jane Austen pastiche, because obviously writing a novel about Mary Bennet from Pride and Prejudice is it's gonna get you more interest and more sales, more publicity than just writing an historical novel about a mousy young woman in the Regency period, right? So like, I completely understand. I enjoyed all of the very good historical details. I liked the connections with Wordsworth that she drew. I liked the hero of the story pretty well, the main sort of male love interest. I enjoyed that. Basically, the back half of the book was the better half, I thought, because it's where Mary really does her character development. She's with the Gardners, who are obviously great characters. Really love the Gardners. My cat is talking to me again. I don't know why. She doesn't need to be. It's fine. She has everything she needs. She just is talkative today. But yeah, I guess my problem with Jane Austen pastiche is that if I'm reading a Jane Austen pastiche that is constantly reminding me of the fact that it's a Jane Austen pastiche, then I'm constantly thinking, well, I could just be reading Jane Austen, you know? Like, when this was the most like Pride and Prejudice, or when this was calling back most directly to Pride and Prejudice, I just kind of wanted to drop this and pick up Pride and Prejudice, because I really like Pride and Prejudice. I certainly, like, no offense to Janice Hadlow, like, she's a good writer. Certainly this is a well-written book, and the characters are well drawn and such, but, like, if given the opportunity to pick between this and, like, literally anything that Jane Austen actually wrote, I'm gonna go with the stuff that Jane Austen actually wrote 100% of the time. So, yeah, I guess maybe Jane Austen pastiche is just not as much for me as I wish it was, in some sense, and that's kind of how I feel about it. So, good book. I think I would have enjoyed it better if it had just been a historical novel about a young woman in the Regency period, instead of specifically a book about Mary Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. So that's how I feel about that. And then the last time I talked with you 2 weeks ago, I said that I was sort of debating about which of, like, 3 big dense books I was going to start next, and I just went ahead and started all 3 of them. I said, fuck it, we're just gonna do it. So I did. First and foremost, I have finally started Fool's Fate, and in fact, in the past 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, I'm past the halfway point. I'm closer to 2/3 of the way through this. So I'm not going to say too much about this, except that, I mean, it's really good. At this point in the series, it's really hard for me to say anything much about this in a video that I'm trying to keep spoiler free, because I feel like any specific thing that I say about this book could probably be construed by somebody as a spoiler for not just this trilogy, but the whole series. This is the final book in a trilogy, and this is also the 9th book in the larger Realm of the Elderling series. So at this point, any kind of plot or character specifics is going to be potentially a spoiler for somebody who hasn't read the books. So I don't know that there's a whole lot that I can say about it in this video, except to say that I'm really, really loving this. As always, every single one of these books is a total 10 out of 10 banger. No notes, perfect, could not ask for a better read. Comparatively speaking, I'm flying through this novel, and I'll probably have it done within the next few days, because, yeah, it's good. And then I probably will, once I'm finished with this, I've said this before, but I will reiterate this, at some point in the near future, I will do a more spoilery review, recap video of the entire Tawny Man trilogy. That's what I'm planning to do. So once I've finished this book, then I will do a video where I am going to talk in a little bit more detail, with a little bit more spoilers, about specifically the Tawny Man trilogy and how much I loved it, because I'm really, really loving it. So yeah, that's Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. For some reason, my cat is just being really ornery today. I don't know why. This time of day, she's not usually very active, but for some reason, she decided to just be like this. And I'm trying to record a video, so I'm just gonna try and push through. I apologize for the cat noises, because I can't make her stop. And there's not gonna be a better time for me to record this. So anyway, I did also start The War of the Ring. This is the 3rd, part 3 of the history of the Lord of the Rings, and the 7th or 8th in the history of Middle Earth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think this is number 8. This is number 8 in the history of Middle Earth. Yeah, I'm liking this too. These I usually take my time with. They're quite dense. There's a lot of footnotes. Christopher Tolkien is annotating heavily and commentating heavily on the various drafts of The Lord of the Rings, and discussing the development of The Lord of the Rings and how Tolkien was working through things in the writing. And we're covering, so far in this book, we've covered like the Battle of Helm's Deep as a big one, and the chapters like Flotsam and Jetsam and The Voice of Saruman. It's basically like the back half of book 3, which is like the second quarter, the second 25% of the Two Towers. And I've started reading a little bit of book 4. He's developing the Taming of Smeagol, and we're getting to the Dead Marshes here with Frodo, Sam, and Gollum. So some interesting things in here, some interesting chronological issues that Tolkien was clearly grappling with. And also the development of the Battle of Helm's Deep, I think, was really interesting because it changed pretty drastically from like the first drafts to what ended up being published in terms of the logistics of it, and also just the level of detail, right? The level of detail you get in the book is not very high in terms of like what is happening moment to moment and like the strategies of it and like where it's going. And he does a lot more strategic things in the earlier drafts, and then eventually it was like, seems like he decided not to worry so much about that stuff and just kind of made it much less detailed in the final draft. So that was really interesting. And he's also seeming to have some issues with the early part of Sam and Frodo and Gollum's sort of journey together in the Emyn Muil. He seems to have taken a bit of a break at one point because he was struggling. So that's really interesting insights into, again, just the development of how things happened and the chronologies and such. So, as well as the history of like the Third Age, which is still very much in flux and very much in development as he's writing this stuff. So really interesting. I'm enjoying it. I am a big Tolkien fan. This is my wheelhouse. I'm into it. So, and then if my cat will let me finish, I did start this mammoth biography of Maria Theresa by Barbara Stolberg-Rillinger and translated by Robert Savage from the German. This is quite interesting so far. She's taking an interesting take on this. The subtitle of this is The Habsburg Empress in Her Time, which is very literal in a sense. I don't want to hold the book up so much because it's really heavy. There's a lot. It's a chunky book, but the subtitle of it is very literal in a sense, because what she's really doing, I think the project of this specific biography is to, as she says, she's sort of trying to counter what she claims are like the earlier major biographies of Maria Theresa, which all sort of contextualize her in a sort of late 19th century mindset of sort of Victorian mindset of, you know, the good woman, the domestic woman, the woman who is meek and subservient to her husband and just wants to be a mother and just wants to be a wife, and it's a very sort of Victorian, sort of late 19th century context that she's been placed in previous major biographies, at least according to the author of this book, which I cannot vouch for necessarily because I've not read any of those earlier biographies, so I don't know, but I'm taking her word for it. And so what she's doing is trying to place Maria Theresa more in the context of her own time and her own culture and her own understanding of the world and what people thought of her at the time, and what she was doing in that context, and what it meant for her to be active, what it meant for a woman to be active in politics, what it meant for a woman to be a head of state in that time period, in the 18th century, in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, what that actually meant at the time, as opposed to what it has been interpreted to mean in later times. So that's really what she's kind of working towards, which I think is really interesting. And it also helps because she does go into long explanatory passages, which helps me a lot because she is contextualizing it. She's saying so it's not just she was born here, she did this, she grew up this way, she got married, she did this, she did that. It's very much about like, well, this happened, and now I'm going to explain to you why this was important at that time, like what this meant in the context of the Habsburg court in the 18th century, and explain like how the Habsburg court worked in the 18th century, how it operated, and how women operated within it, and how specifically Maria Theresa, as you know, who she was, the member of the family that she was, operated within it, you know, when she was, before she was the empress, right? Because at this point we're still early in her life, so she's still a young woman, she's still the daughter of the emperor and the heir apparent, but she is not the empress yet. And so how did she operate within that context, especially after she got married, and what her dresses were, what that meant, etc., etc. So it's really good and interesting, very dense, obviously, extremely dense, lots of citations, but I'm enjoying it and I'm going to take my time with it. I expect this will take me a while to get through this one. I would say it's only maybe it's less than 900 pages if you don't count all the citations and notes and stuff at the end. So it's not horribly long. I've read books that are longer, but of course it is quite dense. So I'm going to be taking my time with it, and I don't expect I'll be done with it for a while, but it's good. I'm liking it so far. So yeah, that's what I'm reading. I've done some babysitting the past couple weeks of my nephew, so we watched a few movies. We did watch K-pop Demon Hunters, which I really liked. He also seemed to enjoy it. I think the songs in that movie are really catchy. It was a cute movie. If you're into that kind of thing, you might enjoy it. And that's really about it. I would not even venture to say that I have anything on deck for what to read next, because I'm just kind of vibing with my current reads, and I will just vibe with whatever I feel like picking up after I finish with Fool's Fate. Since the other two books I'm probably going to be reading for a while, so once I'm done with Fool's Fate, I'll pick something else up off my TBR shelf probably, and we'll see how it goes. Other than that, what have you been reading the past couple of weeks? Catch me up, because boy, I've been playing some catch up. There's a few days there when I just really wasn't spending much time on social media because I was trying to save my battery. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you've been reading, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.